Hello everyone, and welcome to the Commander's Forge. My name is Andy Bentley, and the Forge is an area for me to talk about magic, Commander, and anything else that I deem to be necessary. Now, I started the Forge as a place where I could escape the pandemic. It gave me somewhere to talk, even if it was just to myself. Now, I just want to preface what I'm about to say with the fact that I am not a member of the LGBTQ community, but I am a staunch supporter of that community. The amount of discourse I've seen regarding the secret lair Pride Across the Multiverse edition has made me just kind of sick of straight white men, if I had to narrow it down to just about anybody. But let's start with talking about the secret lair in and of itself. We'll start with Sol Ring, featuring many different symbols from that community. Triumphant Reckoning, featuring Nico Eris, who is a non-binary character. Then we have Alicia, who smiles at death. Collective Voyage. Heartbeat of Spring. Mana Confluence. Savor the Moment, and the one that everybody's been up in arms about, Bearscape. So let's get into it. Starting with, I believe it's Alicia, but it could be Alessia, who smiles at death, which is the first canonical character in Magic that is transgender. And the art shows her as an older woman helping up a younger warrior. Then Collective Voyage is a pride parade on Kaladesh, prominently featuring Chandra. Heartbeat of Spring shows the relationship between Huatli and Saheeli. Mana Confluence has a gathering of people in rainbow-colored robes. Savor the Moment, which has arguably my favorite art from this drop, showing Rael, Zarek, and Tomek's wedding on Ravnica in the spring. And then we have what everybody was up in arms about, the Bearscape. So if you're familiar with what Bearscape is, it's an old enchantment for 1 green, and it says 1 and a green, exile 2 cards from your graveyard, create a 2/2 green bear creature token. This art shows a bunch of bears, which is a term typically given to bigger in stature gay men. And if you find that this art offends you, this is not the kind of podcast you want to be listening to. Because we are here for the representation. More people playing our game means more people we get to play our game with. And some people just don't understand that. But the amount of hate I saw on Twitter just because of the art on Bearscape, because how dare they show shirtless men in a hot spring? It just boggles me that people can think that way still. But now on to the real reason I wanted to bring this up. I not the biggest supporter of secret lairs. I've bought a few in the past. But I will be getting my hands on at least 4 of these that I plan on giving away. And yeah, that's about it for this section, because if I keep talking about it, it's just going to make me angry. And I don't want that. So I'm going to kick this to my mid-roll, and I will be right back. Hey, I just want to take a minute to tell you about my Patreon. I know times are hard for everybody, and I know it isn't easy to shuffle around bills and stuff. Believe me, I know that. But if you would like to help support the podcast and me, you can find the links to my Patreon in my link tree, which is always put into the description of either the video or the audio, wherever you're listening to it. It would really mean the world to me. Honestly, I'm just struggling to make ends meet most weeks. But that's it. That's all. If you want to help, the links will be where you can find them. And we're back. Now, anybody who's been playing Magic with me over like the last 5-ish years would recall that at one point I built Lyra Dawnbringer as a commander. And the deck was not good. It was very not good. It was far too expensive. It was too slow. It just didn't have the staying power to even survive to the point where you were going to be able to play, 4 or 5, 6 drops. And so it just kind of came apart. But recently, with New Capenna, we have our new angel commander, Giada, Font of Hope. She's 1 and a white for a 2/2 angel. She has flying, vigilance, and each other angel you control enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it for each angel you already control. Yeah, so it's like a not quite Cathar's Crusade, because Cathar's Crusade would put a counter on everything. But she just hits the thing that's entering. Regardless, it's like half of a Cathar's Crusade. But more importantly, you can tap her to add a white and spend this mana only to cast angel spells. Huzzah! We have an angel commander that isn't 5 mana, or 6 mana, or 8 mana. Now, one of the big issues with the Lyra deck was that there were not many low drop angels that you wanted to run, or in general. But especially since Kaldheim and Modern Horizons 2, there's been an influx of some lower cost angels. So things like Youthful Valkyrie, which is an expensive uncommon, but it's 1 and a white for a 1/3 angel with flying, and whenever another angel enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Youthful Valkyrie. Angelic Curator is 1 and a white for a 1/1 angel spirit with flying and protection from artifacts. Sarah Avenger is white for a 3/3 angel that you can't cast during your first, second, or third turns, and it has flying and vigilance. And then we continue that into things like Angel Vitality. It's 2 and a white for a 2/2 flying angel that says if you would gain life, you gain that much +1 instead. And it gets +2/+2 as long as you have 25 or more life. Inspiring Overseer is 2 and a white for a 2/1 angel cleric with flying, and when it enters, you gain a life and draw a card. Resplendent Marshal is 1 white for a 3/3 angel warrior with flying, and when it enters the battlefield or dies, you may exile another creature card from your graveyard. If you do, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control other than Resplendent Marshal that shares a creature type with the exiled creature. That was a mouthful. And Emancipation Angel, 1 white for a 3/3 angel with flying, and when it enters the battlefield, you return a permanent you control to its owner's hand. Now, most people would look at that as a downside, but I look at it as a way to rebuy an angel so you can make it bigger. Yeah. So, the whole thought of just angels, it's just angels, right? I mean, theoretically speaking, there's like 2 humans in the deck, but we're not going to talk about those right now. What we want to talk about is payoffs. And payoffs come in the form of life gain, tokens, stuff like that. But we kind of come back to the original commander. Lyra Dawnbringer is a 3 white 5/5 angel with flying, first strike, and lifelink. But the most important line of text that she has is other angels you control get +1/+1 and lifelink. Angelic Skirmisher is 4 white for a 4/4 angel with flying, and at the beginning of each combat, you can choose either first strike, vigilance, or lifelink, and creatures you control gain that ability until the end of turn. Angel of Jubilation is 1 white for a 3/3 angel with flying. Other non-black creatures you control get +1/+1, and players can't pay life or sacrifice creatures to cast spells or activate abilities. Herald of War is 3 white for a 3/3 angel with flying. Whenever it attacks, you put a +1/+1 counter on it, and then angel and human spells you cast cost 1 colorless less to cast for each +1/+1 counter on Herald of War. What I love about the Herald, though, is you might cast it and just get 3 or 4 counters from what you already have on the board, which makes your next spell so much cheaper. Let's see. Things like Archangel of Strife. 5 white for a 6/6 angel with flying. As it enters the battlefield, each player chooses War or Peace. Creatures controlled by players who choose War get +3/+0, and creatures controlled by players who choose Peace get +0/+3. Angelic Field Marshal is 2 white for a 3/3 angel with flying and lieutenant as long as you control your commander. The Marshal gets +2/+2, and creatures you control have vigilance. Thraben Watcher is 2 white for a 2/2 angel with flying and vigilance. Other non-token creatures you control get +1/+1 and vigilance. Righteous Valkyrie is 2 and a white for a 2/4 angel cleric with flying. Whenever another angel or cleric enters the battlefield under your control, you gain life equal to the creature's toughness as long as you have 7 or more life than your starting life total. Creatures you control get +2/+2. Angel of Invention, 3 white for a 2/1 angel with flying, vigilance, and lifelink. It has Fabricate 2, which means when it enters the battlefield, you either put 2 counters on it, or you create 2 colorless servo artifact creature tokens. Spoiler, it's always going to be counters in this deck, and then other creatures you control get +1/+1. And then the last of like the creatures that help our other creatures, we have the Queen herself, Avacyn, Angel of Hope. 5 white for an 8/8 angel with flying, vigilance, and indestructible, and other permanents you control have indestructible. So, right, when I sat down to build this, and I realized I already had most of what I wanted for it, there's one angel that I'm missing. It is my 1-drop angel, and that's Segovian Angel. I just don't have an extra copy of it laying around, and it's been sold out. But yeah, now there are more. I mean, there's a lot more that I could talk about. I just want to point out a few. Resplendent Angel is 1 white for a 3/3 angel with flying. At the beginning of each end step, if you gained 5 or more life this turn, you create a 4/4 angel creature token with flying and vigilance, and you can pay 3 white until end of turn to give the Resplendent Angel +2/+2 and lifelink. Valkyrie Harbinger is 4 white for a 4/5 angel cleric with flying and lifelink. At the beginning of each end step, if you gained 4 or more life this turn, create a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying and vigilance. And the one card here that I'm going to talk about that is not an angel is Imperial Storm. 4 white, white for a sorcery. When you cast a spell, copy it for each time you've cast your commander from the command zone this game. Create a 4/4 angel creature token with flying. This is part of that cycle from one of the commander sets, I cannot recall right offhand, that technically doesn't have Storm, but it's essentially Commander Storm. And the white one was arguably the weakest, but it just makes sense here, because even if you're only making 2 angel tokens off of it, that's not that bad. But finally, we want to round out with just the fact that we get to run these ones. And they kind of go together. And me saying that might alert you to who they are. It's Giada, the Broken Blade, and Bruna, the Fading Light. Giada, the Broken Blade is 2 white, white for a 4/3 angel horror with flying, first strike, and lifelink. At the beginning of your end step, if you both own and control Giada, the Broken Blade, and a creature named Bruna, the Fading Light, exile them, and then meld them into Brizella, Voice of Nightmares, which we'll get to in a moment. Bruna, the Fading Light is 5 white, white for a 5/7 angel horror. When you cast Bruna, the Fading Light, you may return target angel or human creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It has flying and vigilance. And when melded, it becomes Brizella, Voice of Nightmares, which is an Eldrazi angel. I feel like it should still have horror there, but you can see why they would have issues fitting that. But it is a 9/10 with flying, first strike, vigilance, and lifelink, and your opponents can't cast spells with converted mana cost 3 or less. Yeah, I would like to try and get that combination to work in a few decks, but I only have one Giada, the Broken Blade. So for now, she lives in this deck, and hopefully someday I'll be able to get a few more. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for the deck. And I just kind of want to take another moment to mention that with the return of in-person command fests, I will be attending Indianapolis. I chose Indianapolis over, say, Pittsburgh, because Pittsburgh is in June and Indianapolis is in July, which means it would give me a little more time to get some funds together. So yeah, I'm gonna be there. If anybody would like to, meet me. I don't know why you would, but hey, I'll have stickers. And I think that's about it. And I guess I'll see you next time. Thank you for listening. All of my links can be found in my link tree in the description below. I would like to thank Ian Foss and Cody Mulpey of the band The Crypt for allowing me to use music for my opening and ending, along with Nate and Erica Jacobs for making my original logo. And I would also like to thank Christina McNichol for creating my new logo. And I'll see you next time.